Hey guys, this is KiXSTAr, and welcome to part 2 of my sniping tutorial. Now, first things first, this is going to be a long video. So, a lot of you may have gotten the little tip I put into my first video regarding the 4x scope on the M217, and this is something I stand by. The reasoning behind it is that it builds muscle memory. Let's take a look at the times it takes to scope in with the M217. Now keep in mind these are all approximate times, and obviously the 5x is faster than all of them, and all the other ones are, as you can see, the same. I mean, obviously, this is what we expected. Now, why am I telling you to use the 4x scope over all the other scopes? It's the slowest, and it is actually the slowest scope in time of all the other bolt action sniper rifles. So why would I tell you to use it? Because it builds muscle memory. It makes you line up your shot, and it forces you to be patient. Patience is something that you want as a sniper in general, and it helps with more than just your aim. But we'll get to that later. Using the 4x scope will help. It will build muscle memory. I already said it. It'll get you to that point. It's not an all-time thing. It's not an end-all, be-all solution. It's not something you want to do forever. And once you feel like you're not missing any shots with the 4x scope, and you feel like you're limited by it, I mean, obviously you're going to feel limited by it as soon as you start using it, but once you feel like you're not missing any shots, so you're really lining up, and you've hit that zone where you've invested maybe like 100, 150 hours in using it, and you're really, really becoming proficient with it, you want to move to the 5x scope. And this is just a natural cycle. It'll work better if you haven't unlocked it. It's like, say you're a new player and you're just starting out, and all you have is the 4x scope, or the 5.5x scope, or a slower scope than the 5x scope on the M217. Well, perfect. That's what you should have. That's what you want. You want to strive for the 5x scope, but you really don't want it too fast. For me, the 5x scope, I got it. It was my very last piece of equipment, and that was perfect for me. That allowed me plenty of time for practice. But anyway, now that we're past the scopes and times and stuff, let's talk about technique. Now, there are a lot of things to consider in Warface that makes sniping different from other games. For example, you've got your crosshair. Really, you don't want to disregard this. It's extremely important. As someone who is starting up sniping, my advice is to start with the circle crosshair. The reason being, it's a huge circle, and it's an semi-accurate representation of where your scope is going to be when you scope in. So that giant circle, that's pretty much going to be the outline of your scope. Not really, but it's a good way to visualize it. And you really do want to visualize it. You want to visualize what your scope is going to look like when you scope in. Now let's talk about movement and scope wobble. The scope wobble is easily predictable. Yes, it is annoying. Yes, it gets in the way. But over time, you will and must get used to it. When you're mid-air, the wobble is extremely consistent. I know that seems kind of counterintuitive, but that's the way it is. When you slide, there is no scope wobble. It's perfectly accurate. Slide and jump, guys. Slide more than you jump, and stutter slide. Stutter sliding is sliding, and then canceling your slide, and then sliding, and then canceling your slide by pressing space. It really throws off the enemy's aim. You have no idea how many times just sliding and then canceling and sliding and then canceling will save you from your enemy. Use light boots. I know there are some of you guys who are going to want to defend silent boots and anti-claymore boots and all those other boots, but as someone who's been playing this game a long time, I unlocked light boots at like level 3, and I haven't stopped using them. I've tried the other boots. They don't work for me. Mobility is a necessity for me. Without mobility, you really hinder yourself. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage. You want to be able to flank the enemy. You want to be able to outsmart the enemy. And to do so, you need to be faster than them. Not only mentally, but literally in the game, you need to be faster than them. And it's super, super easy just to put on light boots and be faster than them. Another super simple technique I can teach you is called, I don't know, the sliding no-scope, whatever you want to call it. It's literally just sliding and no-scoping. It's very simple. If someone is really close to you, point your face straight at them, slide, shove your barrel in their face, and fire. Don't bother scoping unless you feel like you have the time, and whether you have the time is for you to decide based upon things like the gun the enemy has and how much HP you have. You know, the list goes on. This technique can sometimes be a bit of a dice roll, but if you slide, you become accurate enough to make the dice roll really in your favor, as long as you're aiming in really their general direction. Let's just get this out the way. Gear. So a lot of you are gonna be like, what kind of mouse do you use, KiXSTAr, what kind of monitor, and blah 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 blah. And this stuff is really important, and I'm not gonna get too far into them because that stuff's just basic for shooters in general. It has nothing to do with sniping specifically in Warface. If you really want to be a good player at this game, you're gonna need good gear. I use a Zowie FK2, a QCK Plus, 17 in-game sensitivity, 6 out of 11 sensitivity on Windows, 400 DPI, and a light boosted 144 Hz monitor. And my computer is very beastly, so I actually went out of my way to get all these things. It took me a long time, and it will take you probably. Next is sound. Now this can aid you in finding the enemy and other things like hearing grenades coming straight at your face. And it's super try-hard status. It's something that you're not gonna do unless you really give a damn. And for me, most of the time, I'm not even using sound. Most of the time I'm listening to Netflix or music or something in the background, you know. And if you're really in a pinch and you feel like you need to beat this guy for whatever reason, whoever you're playing against, you can mute your Netflix, mute your music, and turn up your game volume all the way that you can bear, and just listen intently. Stop moving, be patient, and listen for their footsteps, because their footsteps do come. And I know you can't hear them over yours, so stop moving. Just listen. It'll really help you out in certain situations, and it'll you gotta get used to these sounds. You really need to get used to these sounds. Sometimes I'll kill a guy around a corner and I didn't even know he was there other than hearing him. And the person I killed, he'll be like, "Oh my god, you're cheating. Oh my god, how could you have known I was there?" Well, I was listening. I was listening intently. I was waiting to hear you, and I heard you, and then that's all she wrote. It's really not, that hard, but you gotta get used to it. It's an experience thing. You gotta get used to it. Next is lining up your shots and crosshair placement. So you set up the basics earlier in this tutorial when you select the correct crosshair and the correct scope for your gun, but now you need technique. Technique is something, again, you get from experience, but there's some tips I can give you. For example, let me show you this clip where I enter an area that has a lot of hot spots in it, and I enter it, and this is the normal way that I would enter an area. And pay attention to how I enter the area. My crosshair isn't just flying all over the place, wasting movement and being erratic, and I'm not aiming at the ground. I'm placing my crosshair on all the most common spots enemies show up. Now, let me just pause for a second. This is a good opportunity to point something out that you really ought to know. Time equals skill. Experience is something I can't teach you. I can only show you the path that I've taken so you can attempt it yourself. This is, honestly, you need to go at it and learn things for yourself. I'm just trying to put as many pointers as I can into one condensed little video. Alright, back to crosshair placement. You have to learn for yourself the most common spots the enemies will appear. And there are many factors to this. The player that you're playing against, the map that you're on, the match time in the players alive, player classes, player guns, the game mode, is the bomb planted. The list goes on and on and on and on. And you really need to try and monitor all the factors of each match you play. Again, something you need to learn for yourself. This is not something I can teach you. You'll start to monitor them subconsciously over time and over playing when you start to learn just more about the game. It's something you do subconsciously. It's this muscle memory. You just need to play. Alright, we're going to try and go over quickscoping. Now, this is really simple. You know, you place your crosshair on the enemy, you press mouse 2, you press mouse 1. If you did it right, they're dead. Now, a lot of you are going to be like, oh my god, what are you talking about? What's your technique? How do you do it? Well, I've done it a lot. And I told you, if you use the 4x scope, this will get simpler, because while using the 4x scope, you're so damn slow that when you move to the 5x scope, you're going to be so much faster. You're going to be like, holy shit, this is amazing. Because whilst you're being limited by the speed of the 4x scope, you're learning. You're just learning. And I can't explain it enough. Just do it. Just do it. Force yourself. Move up to the 5x scope. We talked about this already. That's how you quick scope. That's how I got to be good at quick scoping. That's the end of the story, alright? That's how you do it. Now, something else to consider is accuracy after scoping. Now, your sniper is not 100% accurate as soon as you press mouse 2. It's just not how it works. This is not Call of Duty. You can't do that. That like weird scoping thing where you insta-scope and then insta-shoot. That doesn't work. Now, I'm not sure the exact times because I haven't measured them, but for each sniper, I think it's different, and I think the M217 is accurate the fastest after just scoping in, which is why I think I like it the most. But again, this is something I couldn't say. I couldn't really tell you. Now, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, other than that, guys, all I have to say is really use your minimap. Use your freaking minimap. A lot of people wonder how I saw them, how I knew they were somewhere. It's because they shot their guns 2 seconds before, and I used my minimap, or I heard them, and I knew exactly where they were, and I could already pre-aim their location. It's the simplest freaking thing. Something else to consider is when you're in mid-air, you're completely exposed. When you are in mid-air, there's no way to stop someone from shooting you because you are in limbo. You cannot prone, you can't crouch, you can't do any sort of dodging maneuver. When you're in mid-air, that's it. They shoot you, you're dead. You're done. You're out of the game. That's it. So that's something to consider. Time. Like I said before, this is almost entirely about the application of time. If you want to become good at something, the best way is to apply yourself. Before I got a job and a life, I was playing Warface like 10 hours a day, every fucking day of the week. I applied a lot of goddamn time. And consecutive time at that, you know, every single freaking day. Now, this is not something I would advise you do, but this is, again, time. You want to get there, you gotta apply time. Anyway, I'm almost positive I left something out. I'm sure I'll think of something after I finish this video and be like, damn, why didn't I add that? But I really want to get this video out to you guys, so this is it. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this helps you, and make sure you share it with your friends. Throw me a like if you liked it, obviously, and maybe even subscribe if you haven't already. And that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.